Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today we're going to talk about the hamzatul wasl, which is this thing that you see all over the Quran, right? So it's an alif with this half sod written on top of this, and this half sod actually comes from the sod in the word al-wasl, which means to join. Now, in the Arabic language, speech does not start with a second letter. Okay, so we cannot start any word or anything that we want to say with a second letter. So to ease that difficulty of starting with a second letter, then we add hamzatul wasl. And the hamzatul wasl does not in itself have any harakas, but when it does have a when it does start a word, it sounds like a hamza with a haraka. Okay, but right now, as it stands, just on its own, it has no haraka. So we'll see how to proceed. Within the Quran, you will find the hamzatul wasl on every single page. For example, the word wattaqullah, the phrase wattaqullah, has hamzatul wasl here, and there's a hamzatul wasl here. Now, when the rule is when we're reading a previous word with the hamzatul wasl, right? And the waw is a word. Waw means and. So this is a word and this is a word. If we're reading them together, okay, one after the other, then if there's a hamzatul wasl in the middle, we will ignore it. The same is happening here. Wattaqullah, there's a hamzatul wasl. We will ignore it if we're reading both of these words together. Now, we have other words like yawmul qiyamah. We will say yawmul qiyamah, mim dhamma connecting to lam sakin, and there is a hamzatul wasl in the middle that we will ignore. Here we have another word, hududullahi. Okay, here again we have a hamzatul wasl that we're going to ignore because we're reading both of these words together, and there's hamzatul wasl in the middle. Let's take another example. Ya Bani Israel. Okay, there's no mad here. Ya Bani Israel. There's a fatha on the lam. Then we have a word starting with hamzatul wasl. And then there is an ayn sakin, dal dhamma. Now, just to note here, hamzatul wasl only comes when there is a second letter after it. Okay, there's the space for hamzatul wasl only comes when there's a second letter and we have to start the word with a sakin, and we can't do that, so we put the hamzatul wasl in front of that word, just like here in this word. Starts with a sakin, the first lam, starts with a sakin, the lam. Okay, here we will say Israel a'budu, la'budu. Okay, the ayn sakin connects to the lam fatha because the sakin needs to connect to a haraka before it. Now this is about when we're continuing and there's a hamzatul wasl, right? We're just going to ignore it. What if I had to read this word without the waw? If I had to start on it? What if I had to start this second word without the first word? And here, what if I had to start this? What if I had to start this? Okay, so how do we put a haraka on the hamzatul wasl so that we don't have to start with a sakin? Now the first step is to check whether this hamzatul wasl is part of the word al, which means the. Okay, like al-bayt, or like we've just seen, al-qiyamah, or al-wajh, or al-kitab. Okay, so all of these words start with hamzatul wasl, lam sakin, hamzatul wasl, lam sakin, hamzatul wasl, lam sakin. The same here. Okay, so what we're going to check for is if we have al plus noun. Okay, the house, the judgment, the face, the book. Okay, now if we have this al, hamzatul wasl plus lam sakina, which means the, if we want to start with this word, we're going to give it fatha. Okay, so give hamzatul wasl a fatha. So we're going to say al-bayt, al-qiyamah, al-wajh, al-kitab. If it's not the word al, then we're going to do something else. Our next process of determining which haraka is to look at the third letter. Of the word. Okay, for example, we have the word i'lamu. Okay, even though I just gave it away, what you're going to do is look at the third letter, right? So how do we count? We count hamzatul wasl as 1, ayn as 2, lam as 3. Okay, and the second one will always be sakin, of course. And the third letter has a fatha. Okay. In this category also, we're gonna look at this word infiru. Again, I gave it away. No problem. Okay, third letter. 1, 2, 3. Then we have the word ittaqu. Now we have a shadda here, right? So shadda means that there's two tas. The first ta has a sakin, the second ta has a fatha. How are we going to count? Hamzatul wasl 1, ta with the sakin 2, ta with the fatha 3. Now this is a fatha. Now if the third letter has either a fatha or a kasra, okay, now if the third letter has a fatha or a kasra, the hamzatul wasl gets a kasra. Okay, so this kasra is what we're going to start with for all these three words. We're going to say infiru because the third letter has a kasra. I'lamu because the third word has a fatha. Third letter, sorry, has a fatha. And ittaqu. When we want to start in this word, we will say ittaqu because the third letter, which is 1, 2, 3, the third letter has a fatha. Okay. Now, if the third letter has a dhamma, we're going to start with a dhamma. The hamzatul wasl gets a dhamma just like it. For example, in the word we hamzatul wasl, dhamma, and then the pronoun ha. So we're gonna start this by first counting 1, 2, 3. Third letter has dhamma, so we're gonna put a dhamma like it on the hamzatul wasl. So we're gonna say udkhuluha. Next we have the word hamzatul wasl, ain, ba, dal, wow. Right? So 1, 2, 3. The ba has a dhamma, so we're gonna add a dhamma here. Okay, so if we want to start in the word, this word, we will say u'budu, u'budu. Now contrast this, we start with dhamma here. If we were to continue and we have same word, right? If we have a fatha on the last letter of the previous word, we will use that fatha and we will connect it to the ain. We will say Ya Bani Israel a'budu, la'budu. But if we have to start on that word, then we will say first count, first letter hamzatul wasl, second letter ain, third letter ba with the dhamma. So we will say u'budu. Okay, so just to recap, if there is an al, we start with fatha. Otherwise, we look at the third letter, and if the third letter is a fatha or a kasra, we start with a kasra. And if the third letter is a dhamma, we start with a dhamma. So the hamzatul wasl is able to carry all three harakas depending on the situation, either a fatha or a kasra or a dhamma. وجزاكم الله خيرا.